Welcome to Talking Heads on USA Global TV, starring the one and only wonderful Dr. Jacqueline. It's a prestigious place where world-class influencers and experts meet, and where you'll find the most trusted advisors and coaches for all things in life and business. Visit usaglobaltv.com to sign up for our newsletter, get the value you need, and be first in line to learn about events and giveaways and other valuable content. Connect with us. Email Dr. Jacqueline at usaglobaltv.com to talk about how you can become part of USA Global TV. That's USA Global TV, where the doctor is always in. Hi, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of Talking Heads. My name is Cini, and Dr. Jacqueline, I want to thank you, as always, for the opportunity to get the word out on something we've been working on recently on this terrific platform. Talking Heads, by the way, is a great way on USA Global TV to get the message out, to get the word out on what you know, to share your expertise, a terrific way to reach an audience and grow your network. And I really appreciate this opportunity. So thank you for that. And today's Talking Heads really is about this concept, this phenomenon that people have been talking about a lot lately called quiet quitting. And just to fill you in on that, quiet quitting is, it's when people show up for work, but just do the absolute minimum that they need to get by. Quiet quitting is, I'm here, but I'm really not here. And I'm really not throwing my heart and soul into it. And anyway, quiet quitting is a common problem. It's become more problem, I think, since COVID. It's become more prevalent as employees are more concerned about what they're getting from their work experience and less concerned about what they're giving in their work experience. And Lisa Manioki, who's joining us today. And Lisa, I want to welcome you to the program because this is kind of the important part of the conversation. We're, there you go. When we talk, and you and I have talked an awful lot about this with Dr. Jacqueline and also on other programs we host on RVN television, the whole idea of work-life balance has not so much to do with what you get from your life, but what you give to your life. At least it has that much to do with it. And we talk about that a lot. So, when we live in a world where everybody's talking about quiet quitting and somehow it seems like it's always the fault of the employer for not making the work interesting enough, I think the whole idea that we have to find fault in the first place is one of the reasons why we never get a solution to the problem. Quiet quitting goes away when people are committed to the work they do. And whatever the work is that they do, they can learn to love it. They can learn to commit themselves to it. They can learn the behaviors they need to learn in order to be able to make a difference in that work. And that really is what we're doing these days with Profit, isn't it?
Well, somebody can learn to do their job well. They can learn to master a skill. But if it doesn't make their cheeks pink, and if it doesn't fill their soul, then there's a chance that their performance is not as excellent as it could be, or that their ongoing performance can become unsustainable. So although we are all able to do our best to pick up a new skill, the reality is the ones that we master and continue to excel in doing are the ones that are right for us. And Profit is really about rightness rather than forced mastery.
That I think that's well put. And there's some subtlety in here that people need to get comfortable with. It's not a direct response kind of a thing. It's an adaptation and a learning and an acclimation kind of a thing. It takes a little bit of time. But when you do that, something called the FTF goes way down. And let me talk about what that is. A couple of months ago on the Business Talk show, Dr. Jacqueline and I had an opportunity to interview a guy named Mitchell Chi. Mitchell Chi is a very high energy guy. I think you've met him, Lisa.
I've talked to him. Yeah.
You have. He's super high energy guy. And he has this metric he uses called FTF, which is feet to the floor. When you wake up in the morning, how long does it take for your feet to leave the bed, get on the floor, and pick you up and get you going? And his point is, when you really love what you do and you're really engaged in what you do and you're really immersed in what you do, you can't wait to get at it. So your FTF goes down when you love what you do. And that, to me, it struck me as a really simple metric. If you have to drag yourself out of bed and you have to go through what you consider to be the pain of getting ready for work, then your relationship with your work probably needs to be inspected a little bit. And it's not necessarily the work. It's your relationship with your work and with all the elements that are sort of associated with that. So along we come with ProFit, and this is where the conversation for me gets interesting. We've all heard the expression when people have seen a team that was just firing on all 16 cylinders. Let's say it's a big engine. When people have seen a team that's really just firing on all cylinders, they've said things like, wow, those people are really all singing from the same song sheet, or they're all rowing in the same direction. Or a favorite of mine used to be, wow, those people really drank the Kool-Aid, didn't they? And that sense that you get when you see a team that's really committed to the work they do, it's the kind of thing you could build. A lot of people think you just sort of have to hit the lottery and get that. And if you don't get that, then you lost and you have to live with the fact that you lost. But you can actually make that happen inside your team by following a few steps. And so, Lisa, I'm going to ask you, because you were instrumental in getting this thing set up, really. And I think we've gotten it to a point now where we're all really proud of it, and we all really know it works. Mm. What we've discovered working together is that at the heart of every really successful team, a team where you just say, wow, these guys have really got it together, there is a role model that represents the best of everyone on that team, but not anyone in particular. It's what they all want to be, what they all kind of strive for and work for. And you can find that role model, and you could use that role model. And that role model consists of 5 kinds of personalities that are mixed in a signature way for a team. Now, I'm going to bring up the slide that talks about what those are. Let me make sure I know how. Hopefully Alan remembers how to do this. There we go. There we go. There we go. That's it. Let's do it that way. There we go. And let's start with the overview. Yeah. Okay, now we're all looking at it. There we go. The five personalities that we working together have figured out are the components of the personality that represents the whole team are listed here. So why don't you walk us through them? Because you know these people intimately, don't you?
Yeah, and these are not fixed personalities. These are actually personality traits. Mm-hmm. So when you're right about a team can fall into place neatly by happenstance, where there's a project. This is the team in the department. This is what we have to get done. Super. Let's do it. Sometimes it works out great with relatively little effort. But the reality is you can actually build a team to produce optimal results by paying close attention, number one, to what needs to get done, and number two, making certain that the people who comprise that team are able, willing, and interested in executing whatever task that is. So we've determined that these are not necessarily people in the group, but they're behavioral traits. So there's typically a person who's got great ideas, the person that's looking at a project or executing a task in a unique way, which can, for an organization, be striking, where you're not mainstream necessarily like everybody else, but you're doing something wonderful in a new way. So that's a creative personality. The expert, I can tell you from having trained in a number of different disciplines, that somebody in the group is always asking for a statistic or a body of work that says, oh, we know this because this has been studied and documented, and there's a peer review statistic that says so. So the expert is the person who will make certain that there's a factual basis to whatever it is we're trying to get done, and can understand what's going on in that project, what needs to be addressed, like scientifically maybe, or from the guts of it. The caretaker is that lovely personality who says, oh my gosh, I see that everybody on the team needs a snack now. And I don't mean caregiver. They're not walking around with bags of popcorn and chips, but it's they're caretaking of not only the people on the team, but also some of the nuanced tasks that need to be tended to, such as maybe paperwork or creating some order or reminding folks about a timing thing. They're caretakers, not caregivers. Big difference. Then there's the connector, the one that says, we've got this job to do. Let's make sure that we're all doing it. They're the person who might be connecting the dots of a strategy approach or connecting people who need to get the word out or who need to make certain that the group is working cohesively together so that whatever goal they have to achieve is achievable and getting achieved. And then finally, the driver, the one that says, we have this thing, it's done, whether it's a product, a service, an assignment, whatever, and we need to get it done by X date, or else nothing will improve. So that's the person who's going to keep us bound to a schedule or a timeline, the one who drives a result. Now these results are all based on our collective contributions. Not one person on a team is the showman or the spotlight. It's the blend of all their contributions that generates a certain result. And together, when there's a proper balance of these personality traits, that can be a powerhouse team and a happy team.
Happy team. I'm gonna go back to just the two of us because I think really from here on it's more of a conversation. We have these 5 personality. Well, first of all, there's so many things that you said that just I resonate with right away. The first implication is that people really need to be free to come at this, to come to this in their own way. This is not something you force. You don't use this as a basis for assigning and requiring. You use it as a basis for aligning people with a goal and inspiring them to make contributions, personal contributions to achieving that goal. That the fact that we're turning loose the power of people's free will really is I think a big part of value proposition for the approach. That's kind of the first thing that strikes me. And the second thing is that these 5 types, as you which you point out, are kind of like 5 ingredients, and you can if you understand them, you can mindfully mix them and combine them to get your team to tune itself around the idea of what it really needs to accomplish. So if you typically, and we've done a bunch of these in various forms over the years. Yeah, I mean, you've been a coach now for how long?
A long time.
Long time. And we've been doing team coaching essentially with brand and culture alignment for 10 years.
Right.
Over the course of all that time, you kind of learn how things work, just by working with people. Knowing that a team that has a mission of, let's say, law enforcement, when you ask them, who are you when you're doing your best work on your best day, you'll get a lot of answers around the driver. I mean, they'll see in their heads a gun and a badge and the trappings of authority that make them effective police officers. Very important part of the work they do. And when you ask a team of teachers at a school, what is it that makes you the best at what you do? You'll see an awful lot of caretaker. We help families. We help children in families. But as you talk to them, you'll learn that for a lot of police departments, it's not just about the driver. We need to mix in more caretaker because, after all, we're servants of our community and not just dictators of it.
Right.
And that makes them more effective. And when you talk to teachers, especially in a private school, they'll say things like, well, the fact that we make people wear uniforms, kids wear uniforms, and we make them line up between classes, and that we don't let them talk to each other between classes, that's discipline. And a lot of the parents like the idea that when they send their kids here, that's a little bit of red. Not a lot, but a little bit of red. And what you end up with is a very uniquely baked cake that represents your team when it's doing its best work on its best day. And everybody on the team gets to experience it in their own way. Flavors are similar and they'll react in similar ways, but we don't change anybody. We enlighten people and we inspire them. So and why that's important as a coach.
Well, it's been my experience, and I think it's documented pretty widely, that people change when they want to. But when they're told they have to, well, there's a different system that kicks in that's resistant.
Hmm.
know, maybe the change that they've been asked to make or told to make will be beneficial, but unless an individual is ready and willing and able to make change, it doesn't always come about. So
Hmm.
ideally, um, instead of somebody making changes or changing themselves or selling their soul, we ask them to contribute, which has a very different feel. Even the word has a different feel to it. So when we assemble a team, we're asking each party to contribute to a result, which feels more productive and kinder. Further, one of the elements of profit is the request of each other that we respect how each person operates and what they bring to the table. So this has to be a judgment-free zone where one way is not better than another necessarily. It's worthy of exploring. Like maybe we need to look at it from this perspective, but there can't be a commanding dictatorial approach to the assembly of a team or its execution. Because once any organization is making demands that others on the team find that they wish to resist, well, then the team's productivity goes down. Their morale can absolutely evaporate, and a good morale is essential for good productivity. So the whole point of Profit is to find this proper balance of ingredients that makes for an optimal level of productivity, whatever it is they're trying to make, and that appeals to each person's sense of contribution so that they feel part of something bigger than themselves and they each own that stake, but the collective whole is a much better and more desirably integrated result.
And it takes, you really hit it out of the park, and that's why I'm so glad I'm not doing this alone today, because I think your take on this has been so valuable and has evolved. And we now have a process that happens in a half a day. When you know how and you know what steps to follow, you can make tremendous progress in a very rapid, at a very accelerated pace. But you do it more by farming than by hunting. And that's kind of the point you made. The classical physics issue with people is if I just apply enough energy to them, I can get them to do what I want them to do. If I just push at them, hammer at them, repeat things over and over to them, I can influence them the way I influence anything else in classical physics. Apply energy, see a result. But what we know in working with people over the last 10 years is that people don't react that way at all to when energy is applied to them. In fact, they generally react in the opposite way. If you really want to get people to do what you want, then you as a leader have to want the right thing. And then by your own actions and your own behaviors, inspire your people to want that thing as well. Because, and you said this once before, a really, really good team isn't a group of people that are doing the same thing. It's a group of people that want the same thing.
That's right.
That's where the power comes from.
Yeah, we don't want anybody to become a clone of the other. Absolutely not. I mean, I've said this statement before, a cake without sugar is still a cake, but not as sweet. So we need the eggs and the flour and the butter for that cake to taste good, to do what it's supposed to do, which is to rise. And so it is with the team. We need all these ingredients for a team to function at its absolute best.
So for people out there that are watching this Talking Heads, we have a method and an approach, and we have a commercial manifestation of that we call Profit. And it's at Profit for Teams, Profit pro-fit for the number 4 teams.com,
Right.
where there's a whole bunch of information on that. But if you're watching this Talking Heads and you're the leader or a member of a team, you don't have to be the leader of a team to want the best for everybody. You can be a person who just started on that team yesterday. You don't have to have authority from the organization. If you have authority from the purpose of the team that you're a part of, that's where real authority comes from, and that's where all this change comes from. So based on the fact that you have the authority of this thing that you love, that you're totally committed to, You can begin that process of changing the members of your team right now yourself by asking what we call the incorporating question. Just think about this whole team as though it were a single person doing its best work on its best day to keep all of its promises and achieve all of its goals. What would that person be like if our team, whether it's a nursing team or a police department or a child study team in a school, doesn't make any difference what we do. If all of us, if we were all one person doing our best work on our best day to keep all our promises and achieve all our goals, you might have to rewind that. That's very carefully worded. It took a long time to come up with that wording, and it works. When you get people thinking about who we are rather than who they are individually, you start the process of that transformation that we talked about, where people fall in love with the work they do. If we can get them to meet the work they do the way they would meet somebody at a party, get to know the work they do the way they would get to know somebody they cared about, we can begin that process of, what about this person can I learn to be I hate to say better version of myself, because it isn't about changing people because they're broken at all. It's about helping people find a new place that they're happier in and more committed in, and that they enjoy more and that they look forward to every day to go and make a contribution. And then, Lisa, the miracle, as you say, isn't just doing what I'm told. The miracle is doing what needs to be done. And often that isn't anything that any boss ever told me to do, but was something that needed to be done.
Right.
Those are the miracles that make a team successful.
They are. And what's important too is ProFit is not necessarily a team building initiative. It's actually a troubleshooting one too. I mean, we might come across a team that's not functioning optimally, and as we go through our exercises, determine that the wrong ingredients are here or an imbalance. And if the participants of that team are not willing to make adjustments, not sell their soul, of course. I mean, I think when we're part of a group, sometimes we need to regulate, downregulate, or upregulate certain behaviors, certain things that we say out of respect for the other members of the group and for the outcome we're trying to achieve. But sometimes we identify that somebody in this group doesn't fit. So they may need to find another place to participate. And that's not a bad thing, because what we're looking for is the ideal fit. That's where ProFit comes from. We are ProFit, which when we fit our jobs, when we fit our lives, when we fit our partners, life and business are a whole lot more enjoyable. And when we're happy, I mean, there are numerous studies done about this, happier people are more productive.
Absolutely.
That's easy.
And productivity makes people happy. So when you start a cycle like that, every achievement spawns new achievements.
Yeah.
Because I want to do that, because this is a contribution I want to make, and because I feel like I'm personally respected for that, and that the contributions I'm making are fitting into this larger picture of what it is we're all trying to accomplish together. And that's when your foot to the floor time goes way down and your enthusiasm goes way up. And quiet quitting is not something we do around here anymore.
No.
There are no quiet quitters on this team. And I know we're coming up pretty close to the end of this, and we do it in a half a day, and we do it in 3 steps. So real quick, because I forget. Lisa, what are those 3 steps?
Well, first, we're every person on the team answers a battery of questions. They're easy, they are not labor intensive, and everybody on the team answers the same set. Then we take a look at those answers and determine, well, what does the group all have to say? And then we have a discussion. Is this really on point? I mean, can we reach a consensus as a group that this is going to be the role model? We're going to actually give our role model a shape and a form in 9 different areas, such as appearance, speaking, writing, the career, the role, it might be finances. We're actually giving this role model a persona so that we on the team all can aspire to contribute to that persona and keep it breathing. And that's the crux of it. And then we watch them flourish, which ideally they will do.
Great ideas perk out of that tilled soil when we're finished with it. And
Yeah.
that, for us, that's when this is all over, where you get a team full of people that are brimming with ideas about how they can make contributions. Often, the greatest contributions come from the people that you hear the least from over the course of an average day. What I love about it is it's tailor-made for introverts. The approach is really tailor-made for people who prefer to work alone, because we give them something to share in a meaningful way. And what they share turns out to be really valuable for everybody. And that, to me anyway, is a big part of this.
And it's also tailor-made for extroverts and everybody, and ambiverts, everybody in between. That's the whole point, is a team needs to be the team it needs to be. And all the participants of that team get to decide. So whatever the nature of the team is, they decide it, they agree, and they tune it up as it goes along, because a team is not a fixed entity that does not change. It evolves in the same way people do. And sometimes circumstances outside of the team, as well as inside the team, change. And that team needs to be agile so that we know when there's a change in stressors or conditions, somebody needs to take the lead to keep things productive and calm and not agitated, or we need to basically tend to the team in a way that keeps it alive. And that's that role model. So this is a living, breathing organism.
It's I'm glad you touched that point before we finished. I know we're down to a minute.
Right.
Elise, I want to thank you, first of all, for all the contributions you make on our team.
My pleasure.
They are, and I want to tell everybody, if it's not obvious to you just based on the way we talk about it, we love what we do. We really do.
I do.
Because we love the difference it makes in the people we serve. And a lot of what we do are things that you can do without buying anything. Just think about who you are collectively as a person and try to bring that person to life. Have a meeting where everybody gets to contribute to that. Yeah. What you'll find is you're creating an opportunity for people to fall back in love with this experience they call work, after which it doesn't feel so much like work anymore. It just feels like a happy life. Yeah, because that's really what it needs to be. And you know, we love we love the experience of bringing life to work, which I think is one of the things that we get out of this. So thank you, Lisa. I appreciate your time today and everything you do. And you know, Dr. Jacqueline, one more time, I want to thank you for this opportunity to get to your audience through this Talking Heads platform. It's terrific for anybody who wants to consider sharing their expertise and connecting with their audience in a new and novel way. They ought to get a hold of you through usaglobaltv.com. There are plenty of links there to learn more about how they can become a talking head. Thanks very much, everybody, for listening. And we'll see you again, I guess, next week. We're doing another Talking Heads next Tuesday. I will be next Tuesday at 11. So thanks very much, and we'll see you again soon.